Hi, everybody. Firstly, thank you to everyone here for, I suppose, asking me to come on. The topic of today that I'm going to share with you is being a student athlete and managing your performance environment. The aim of the workshop today is about building your self-awareness. For me, it is the foundation of absolutely everything you do. Rank in order of what you feel is most important to help you manage right now. Time management and finding a balance, rest and recovery, nutrition, sleep, communication, and social and personal time. We sometimes forget the positives and just focus on the negatives. So keeping the positives at the forefront helps with our motivation. Obviously, we need to acknowledge the challenges that we go through and share it and discuss. And I think it's sometimes nice to have a comfort of knowing that a lot of people are in the same boat as you. All of these 7 that I've up there have a relationship with time management and finding a balance. Most of the challenges that you would have put down stem around you. You've also got your academic side, you've got your sports side, you've got your personal life. And unfortunately, at the moment, we're all living with COVID as well. When we focus on things that are outside of our control, and I'm getting into the psychology of it now, these things are the things that can actually create anxiety and more stress. You need to bring it back into the focus of what you can control. So hopefully through this workshop, we'll focus on the things that are within our control and that we can exert change on. I've also highlighted the word challenges in red because I fully believe that challenges are not always negative. The main comment thread that I see coming through from athletes I work with within the Institute of Sport is exactly what you've said, finding the time and balance to have all of these things. Communicating with support providers can cause a lot of worry as well. Sufficient rest and recovery. And unfortunately now, as I said, COVID. How would you rate yourself currently at how you're managing and balancing everything? How would you rate yourself at multitasking? For me, it is not the word balance. Okay, we use this a lot. It's not about a balance because there's not just 2 things. It is more about what I call the rhythm. You'll know from playing sport and being involved in sport that some times are really hectic in the season and some things are less hectic. You know, resilience is about adapting. So how can we recognize, stop and adapt as we go to find that rhythm? Let's get started at what is time management anyway and why is it important? Time management for me, as I said, it's our foundation level skill, but it's something that affects and ripples through to all aspects of our life. So if you could get this basic skill solid, it could have so much of a benefit on the impacts of both sport and performance. Having a clear focus, being able to concentrate, controlling our emotions under pressure. In order to do those things, you actually need to be organized, have a clear focus. Time management is more than just noting things down on paper. It's about having that key foundation level skill so that it can actually impact and keep a clear focus, reduce anxiety, boost your motivation. My top tips and tools to help me, and I'm going to show you how I use them as well. With our long-term schedule, this will hopefully identify what you're supposed to do and also identify key barriers. What I'd encourage you to do is setting your education and sporting plan. What assignments are due? When are they due? What are the due dates of them? When are there particular labs or classes that you might have to attend? Is there an exam period? When does that fall? The second thing is look at your sport. Is there a training camp that you're supposed to do? Is there any competitions that you might be away for? It can help us have, I suppose, an overview of what's happening. And it can also prevent any undue stress and unnecessary stress by identifying any clashes in advance so that you know you need to talk to your lecturers or your coach or your family. But it can also highlight, okay, in December, I have 6 assignments due. How can I now break that down and start working on them now so that it's small, achievable chunks? Second thing that is that I do all of the time is my weekly schedule. If you think about performance, we need to look at, okay, what is our performance goals and what is our process? Just write out how you're spending your time as you go. Do it for 1 week. Something like this is just an example of what it might look like. So write it in, everything, even meal times, leisure time, whatever it is. After you've done this for a week, start to reflect on how you manage your environment. There is 168 hours in the week. It's good to reflect on, are you spending your time wisely? You need your social time. You need efficient sleep. You need obviously your sport and your nutrition. So what I encourage you to do is, does anything jump out at you at how you're spending your time? What should or could you change, and why is that a positive to change it? Are you procrastinating at anything? Is there any modules you're not happy with that maybe they're not your favorite, so you're putting them off? I'd even encourage you to look at any triggers or barriers. What are your common distractions? Do you have your phone beside you as you're studying? Do you go to sleep at a really good time, but it's taken you an hour and a half to get to sleep? And if so, why? Some of the common things that I find for student athletes or for anyone is that perhaps you are breaking them into, okay, I need a 3-hour block to study or a 3-hour block to train. It's actually a lot better if you break it down into chunks or tasks. So what I've done is I create my weekly routine. I put down my common things that I need to do in that week. And after that, I can start to put other things in, like my activities or my personal time or my rest and relaxation. Most importantly, I then look at what are my priorities for the week. You need to take ownership and you need to understand what works for you. When we start to do too many things or ignore other things, it's like a domino and it affects everything else. By striking a routine and knowing your priorities, it can really help. A lot of us think that we are fantastic at our multitasking, when actually it is switch tasking is what we're doing. When we are switch tasking, we're not fully focused on anything. So we're not actually multitasking, we are going back and forth. So what I'd encourage you to do is actually break down your tasks into very manageable bite-sized chunks. Even if you have your weekly schedule, things still crop up. You can start to prioritize. You might have 10 things on your list, but they all don't need to be done right now. So by firstly mind dumping onto a page, it can help you to, I suppose, just feel a bit refreshed knowing that, okay, I've got everything onto a page. This is all the things that I have to do. Unfortunately, that can also overwhelm us. So what is a good thing to do is to take a look at when do the things need to be done by and schedule them into your weekly schedule. My cautious note on that is you don't want to blindly squeeze these in. This is when, if we do a priority list, we tend to sneak in, okay, well, maybe an hour less of sleep or, your physical activity or your nutrition. So what we need to do is actually look at, okay, what are the important things? It's still your sleep. It's still your meal prep. It is still eating, rest and recovery, engaging with others. Put in those as your regular things and other things can work around it. And one of the most common things I'm hearing at the moment this semester is, well, I've got online classes that are live and I've also got recorded classes. So how can I keep up with that? And one of my questions to any of the, I suppose, students that I'm working with is, well, what are you doing when you're not actually looking at your recorded class? And a lot of them aren't going by their timetable. So what I'd encourage people to do is actually, you have a timetable. So stick to that. If your recorded class is being recorded instead of live, still listen to that class if it suits you at that time that's on your timetable, because that's your regular schedule anyway. Where to go from here? Do out your semester plan, your yearly plan, or you can break it down into semester 1 and semester 2. When are your assignments due? When is your training or any competitions that might be going ahead? Notice any clashes and you can preempt them. Fill in a week just for 1 week to see, are you making good choices and how are you spending your time? Calculate it out. You have 168 hours. You should be at the minimum, even though we're all different, getting at least 7, if not more, hours for your age group. And then reflect and make a plan. I would really recommend making a weekly plan. What are your regular things that are regular classes, regular commitments, regular training? Put them into your weekly plan and then do out your to-do list. If you're struggling with motivation and struggling to keep on top of things, break things down into tasks rather than time. So for example, I will read one article and I will write down my bullet points. That's an easy, manageable task in a half an hour chunk. There are apps out there if you do want to have a look at them. Obviously, there's things on your phone and your laptop, but a couple of things that I've come across, my homework app, there's also distraction blockers that you can put on your laptop to stay focused so that you're not allowed onto certain websites between certain times. There's loads of to-do lists. There's things like apps called Remember the Milk and To Do, and also Finish. And please just don't forget your social time. So the Smiling Mind app is very good. It's a free app on your phone and it's good for rest and relaxation tips. Headspace is also a very good one that I can recommend. They're all guided and they're all instruction based. So this workshop is really more about the self-awareness and giving you some practical tips that you can do. A key skill, a life skill as well, is that you need to understand when it's best for you to eat and meal prep. You need to probably bring meals with you or make sure you're taking sufficient rest. Social and personal time came down last. You ranked it last. Even just if it's 20 minutes, half an hour in between your day or at the end of your day, it is key.